Welcome to the Audience Converter Podcast, the podcast for converting your audience from strangers to loyal fans. We dive deep and discuss how entrepreneurs, consultants, and coaches can level up their business to help more people in the world. Now here's your host, the creator of the Audience Conversion Method, Kimberly Weitkamp.
Do you struggle with getting your message in front of the right people? I don't mean figuring out which of the many social media channels to be out there, but whenever you have a new offer or a new opportunity or even a new resource that you really want to share with your community, do you struggle with getting your community to actually open your emails? I have created a really awesome in-depth workshop where we'll go through exactly how you can use a welcome series. It's a series of 5 to 7 emails that people get when they first join your list that creates a curated customer experience and leads to higher engagement rates, higher conversion rates, and higher open and click rates. You can join me and grab your ticket at theaudienceconverter.com/workshop. If you've ever wanted to create an engaged community that you know is going to be more eager to open your messages, learn about your offerings, and of course, expand the audience in which see your offer and have the opportunity to invest their time, energy, resources, and money with you, this is definitely an option for you to get those welcome series written. So this 3-hour workshop will be a get it done style, training, time to write, and time to get feedback. Grab your ticket at theaudienceconverter.com/workshop. All right. In today's episode, I am really excited to start breaking down the customer journey. One of the things I have noticed here recently is that a lot of people I'm speaking with, they're a little confused as to where on earth they're supposed to get started with their marketing. And I think part of what happens with that is that people don't know where their customers are in their journey of getting to know them, of getting to know their products, of getting to know their services. So today, what we're talking about is the customer journey breakdown. And we're going to be talking about a really popular format for defining who your customers are. And that is, how aware are they? So your customers and your clients and your prospects and anyone who's a potential member of your audience, they are somewhere on their customer journey. Maybe they're really advanced, maybe they're at the beginning stages, but they are somewhere on that trip. And it's really important for you to figure out exactly where they are so that when you give them your marketing message, when you talk to them, then you know exactly what stage they're at. It's the stages of awareness. And we're going to start with the easiest and the simplest stage to kind of understand. But unfortunately, it's a stage a lot of people focus too much time on. And that is the unaware stage. So there are several stages, and over the next few episodes, we'll be talking about all of them. But in this episode in particular, we are just doing a really quick deep dive into what is the unaware stage. So the unaware stage are people who could become members of your audience. They could become members of your community. Now, that's a little bit different, okay, than people who are not your ideal client, all right? I am not talking about, this is everybody in the world. That's actually not the people who are in the unaware stage. People who are in the unaware stage are those who could become your clients. They are your ideal fit. They fit the demographics. They fit the psychographics. You can really help them. However, they are unaware that they have a problem. They don't know they have a problem. They have not had that epiphany, that acknowledgement, that realization that, I've got a problem and want to fix that problem. These are people who are completely unaware that they have a problem. And unfortunately, a lot of coaches I meet, they focus a lot of their time on trying to meet these people, probably because this is the widest pool of your potential ideal people, your potential ideal community members, but they are the hardest to convert to the next stage. And this is not the hardest at the very top, it's the hardest at the very bottom. And I'll tell you why. Because convincing somebody they have a problem is a really complex process. And it's so much more difficult for you to really land your messaging, for you to really make a connection with somebody who's not even aware that they've got an issue, right? They haven't acknowledged to themselves they have an issue. So of course, they're not really looking for anything that you're offering. And I'll give you a really great example. A good friend of mine is a health coach, right? She's in the health space, and her whole focus is on using a particular diet type to control, to make the best of your body and to get the most out of your body, and not necessarily to lose weight per se, but to live a healthy lifestyle. And her whole focus is on one particular diet, and you might have heard of it. It's called keto. However, most of the content she was putting out there, most of the marketing she was putting out there, most of what she was focusing her attention on to try and get new clients was in informing people what keto was. So she would say something like, oh, keto is this and this is what it can do. And it's great if you have any of these problems. But these people didn't know they had a problem. They weren't aware that their food might be causing inflammation. They weren't aware that their food might be aggravating a health condition they had. They weren't aware that what they ate could have an impact on their overall health and well-being. And so trying to not only convince somebody you have a problem, but that your particular solution is the ideal solution to a problem you don't even know you have, you can imagine how that's a little bit difficult to understand for people. So I really want you to take a moment and think, are you focusing your time on people who don't know they have a problem? For example, I do copywriting, right? I write the words that people put out there into the world to connect with their ideal clients. But if you are not aware that the words on your page are bad, if you are not aware that there is a formula, that there is a format, that there is a process to figuring out the right messaging to put out into the world, and then I come up to you and say, hey, I write copy. You want to hire me? I can get you really great stuff. Well, that's kind of a disconnect, right? You're not aware that your copy is the problem, right? You're not aware that maybe you need to have a strategy. You think, well, I show up on Facebook every week and I go to Clubhouse once a day, and that's going to work for me, right? So why on earth? What's copywriting? I don't even know what that is. So walking up to people and saying, hey, I can help you, but they don't even know they have a problem. It's a real issue. And a lot of us end up falling into this trap. So it's not a matter of, oh, I really want to connect with these people, and this is how I'm going to do it, because we have to define where people are in the first place. So a lot of us kind of love to create that how-to content and that beginner stuff and that intro stuff, which can work. But make sure that you're speaking with people who have an idea that they have a problem, as opposed to people who have no idea they have a problem. The way you speak, the way you explain, the way the examples that you use, all of that is going to change if you don't know who you're talking to. And if you do know who you're talking to, all of that is going to change as well. So kind of take a moment, all right? What activities are you currently doing to people who are unaware? And I'll give you an old school example to make it a little bit easier for you to maybe understand this concept. I want you to think about the last time you opened your mailbox, like the physical mailbox that has pieces of paper in it from the US Postal Service or whoever actually delivers your mail in the country that you reside in. And I want you to think, right? You probably looked through that pile, and there's a really famous marketer who kind of explained this concept. People sort their mail into A and B piles. A pile, those are things you definitely want to keep. Oh, that's a bill. Oh, that's a letter from my mother. Okay, yeah, those are things I'm going to keep, and maybe I'll read them later. The B pile is stuff you're like, not relevant, not relevant, not relevant, and it goes straight into the trash. Most of us have a term for this. It's called junk mail. And a good portion of what the world of persuasion and copywriting is known for is for writing those junk mails, right? It is known for direct response copywriting. It's a very different style, especially since it's not online and it is in your mailbox, your physical mailbox. And that's because you have to create the actual stopping point, right? You have to capture somebody's attention so thoroughly and surprise them so much that it interrupts their day for them to stop and read that piece of junk mail. Why? Because they don't know they have a problem. So oftentimes the junk mail or the long form sales letters, as they're also known as, a lot of times those won't necessarily speak to the problem, right? They're going to speak to a feeling. They're going to speak to a lot of different things. because these are people who don't necessarily know they have a problem. And the same thing can happen online, right? If you're scrolling through a news feed, for example, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's not relevant. That's not relevant. Ooh, I want to stop and read this particular thing. Or if you're looking through the news, if you're on CNN or if you're on, Yahoo News, if you're on any kind of online news aggregator that brings a bunch of topics together, or if you're on LinkedIn even and scrolling through to see what people are posting, you're just going to scroll until you see something that actually resonates to where you are. So if you're writing about stuff, if you're putting out marketing messages around this idea that you are going to stop somebody's normal day and convince them that they need to talk to you and they don't even know they have a problem, that's going to be a lot more difficult for you. So in summary, right, your customer journey does start at the unaware stage. Now, people may not spend very long in this stage, right? They might spend about 30 seconds and then realize they have a problem. But everybody starts at some point on this customer awareness journey. And those who are unaware, we are oftentimes spending too much of our time and effort trying to speak to people who are unaware. And that's not the way to do it. In fact, that's not the way the internet is designed. Because think about it, right? What happens online? You've got algorithms, you've got SEO, you've got, Google dictating what people are going to see. You've got Facebook dictating what people are going to see, which means those people, those platforms that are controlling your messaging, they're not even going to put your message in front of someone who's unaware because it's not relevant to them. And these companies and these platforms want to provide a relevant experience. So it's very, very narrow as to what anyone ever sees anymore. That's why organic reach is kind of nothing on a lot of these places nowadays, unless you're really invested in SEO of some kind. But you don't want to be focusing on creating unaware marketing messages because your people, they're not in the right place to talk to you. They're not in the right place to even hear from you. So I want you to take a moment and think, what have you done in the last month that's actually aimed at somebody who doesn't know they have a problem? Or have you been spending most of your time creating content, creating marketing, creating that messaging that's going to guide people along the customer journey that actually speaks to, hey, I have a problem? So in the next episode, we're going to be talking about the next stage. And in case you haven't guessed it yet, I'm going to give you a little hint. It's called the problem aware stage. But in the meantime, if you are wanting to guide people along a customer journey, one of the best ways to do that is to introduce yourself, build that know, like, and trust factor, and start building anticipation for having your email in their inbox. And the best way to do that is with a welcome series. And I'm hosting a Write Your Welcome series workshop on May 6th. It's 3 hours. It's live and you get to get your stuff done. It is both educational training and a get it done style workshop, which means you have breaks to do the writing, come back and get live feedback from a conversion copywriter. Be sure to check out all of the details at theaudienceconverter.com/workshop. It's a great way to move people along the customer journey and further along from where they are to where you want them to be and where they can get the most use and help out of being a part of your community. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Audience Converter podcast for community leaders, where we are focused on the business side of running a community and running a business that will build the life that you want and help you make the impact you are here to make. We are talking all about the customer journey and why you don't want to focus your time on the unaware audience. Until next time, everyone, keep calm and focus on the customer journey.
Thanks for listening to the Audience Converter podcast. For more information and important links about today's show or for access to our website, visit theaudienceconverter.com. Take a moment to rate and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.